38 Special, very fast and light versus very heavy and slow. What I have today is our Buffalo Bore TAC-XP 38 Special plus P 110 grain solid copper hollow point versus some 38 Specials that are a hard cast lead that are a 230 grain cast bullet. This ammunition, this hard cast bullets and ammunition was sent over to the channel by one of my long-term Patreon and YouTube subscribers, Calamity Jane, and she loaded these herself with looks like 4.4 grains of accurate number 5. So these are at a plus P level, as is the 38 Special solid copper lead-free hollow points. So it should be a very interesting test here. Now the load data on these particular loads here, it says that they are rated at looks like 740 feet per second through a 4-inch barrel. I did cross-reference the same load over on Hodge Don's website, and it looked like that was out of a 7.7-inch barrel. But either way, we really don't want to get too much velocity on a load like this. That is a very heavy bullet. Our 38 Special TAC-XP lead-free, that is rated at 1125 feet per second, but I believe that is through a 2-inch barrel actually. So I'm going to test these loads and see how they compare to each other. I'm going to use my 4 and an 1/8 inch barrel Smith & Wesson 686 and my 2-inch barrel Taurus 605. So we'll have a snub nose versus a duty size barrel length to see how they compare. So I am going to go through the chronograph, see what kind of velocity and accuracy I get at the same time. Then I'm going to do my 10% clear ballistic test. Normally I like to do a plain clear ballistic shot with just plain clear ballistics, but because of having to put 4 different shots in here, I'm just going to skip right to my real world simulation where I have 4 layers of denim on this first 3-inch piece here that represents our pectoral muscle. After that, we'll have a 1/4-inch medium density fiberboard to represent ribs or sternum and the clear ballistics, and we'll see how much penetration we get, how much damage we get. They're very vastly different from one another. A very fast lead-free hollow point versus a very heavy lead flat point. And part of the attributes to a lead flat point are that they do penetrate pretty far in a straight line. However, if the velocity is kind of low on that, it might not, and it might actually do a lot of damage and not over penetrate. But I did put a lot of extra gel up here just in case. And then I am going to shoot at my steel to see what kind of practical accuracy and knock around power I can get on that steel. So let's get started with this test. All right, I'm hoping to be able to get some velocity reads today. There is enough sun, it appears, because I did put a couple rounds over the chronograph with the 22, and that read that. So first up, we're going to test this TAC-XP plus P rated at 1125 through a 2-inch barrel, I believe. So I'm just going to do 3 rounds of these because I don't have very many, and we'll see how these compare in the 4-inch barrel versus the 2-inch barrel. So let's see what we get with these. 1245, 1245, 1208. So that's some pretty good velocity for a 38 Special 110 grain. Almost no recoil in that particular revolver. Let's try our 2-inch barrel now. 1138, 1160. 1144. So really good velocity and energy, like over 300 foot-pounds. Recoil is a little bit much, but it was still half the recoil of a 357 Magnum out of this. So let's put in those very heavy lead bullets and see how those compare. All right, so we have these 230 grain lead bullets. That's a lot of bullet mass for a 38 Special, and they are loaded to fit a revolver just fine. So these have a listed data velocity of 740 feet per second. Out of 4-inch, I'm a little bit skeptical of that, but even if we got like 500 feet per second, that's still going to be a lot of power on these. So I'm definitely going to go single action. I expect the point of impact to be kind of high with these, because a lot of times you get something moving slow enough and you got gas coming out of the cylinder gap causing recoil before the bullet leaves the muzzle. And even at 4 or 5 yards here, sometimes get that. But let's see what we get here with these very heavy 38 Specials. Woo. 637. Very low recoil, a lot less than what I would have thought there would have been. 653, 612, 630, 607. So they're very intimidating looking, but out of this, they're very easy to shoot. And that's really good velocity. Yeah, it's less than a 45 ACP 230 grain, but still, you know, well over 600 feet per second isn't bad. So obviously we're probably going to get in the 500s with this. With a heavy bullet like that, you're not going to gain a ton in a long barrel, so I think the velocity loss will be less than what you might expect, but let's see what we get here. Is that a read? 615, 589, 599, 592, 602. So not much velocity loss at all. You know, we have a lot more muzzle jump, and the point of impact is way high. As we're with the 4-inch barrel, the point of impact wasn't really as high as I thought it was going to be. So it seems like a perfectly dialed in accuracy wise for the 4-inch barrel. They are going to jump up a little bit in the snub, but still the recoil wasn't too bad. I would say the recoil with these was less than that TAC-XP 110 grain. So let's hit our ballistics gel block, see how these compare. All right, I'm gonna make a direct comparison between the TAC-XP and this very heavy lead bullet in each barrel length. So I'm gonna do 4-inch barrel TAC-XP, 4-inch barrel lead bullet, and then I'm gonna switch over to the shorter barrel and do that. So let's see what we get here with our TAC-XP 4-inch barrel. All right, let's set that with the lead bullet. We'll take a look. All right, so let me, well, I can't pull out the MDF, it's taped on there, but what I can say is there's some energy jump in this first 3-inch piece here that would represent, you know, getting some expansion right away. And the hole going through the MDF is bigger than the lead bullet here. And what we got for penetration with this TAC-XP here is rated at about 15¼ inches. We have good expansion. It's not super huge because hitting an MDF sometimes limits that. With that lead bullet, we went in a very straight line. I wasn't sure whether I should use, you know, a third block, but actually what's going on here is that bullet came out of the block. It came out, you know, after curving just a little bit to the left, and it came out of the block, you know, well past here. This is 36. At about 39 inches, it came out of the block and just kind of rested on the side here. So if I made another shot through there, well, I probably should make another shot just to see. So let me put one more shot of this in there. So I'm gonna have to go a little bit more centered here if this is gonna curve to the left, and see what we get. We'll take a look at that one. All right, so we pretty much went in a straight line, and right at the end here, it curved up. So 36 inches plus whatever else we got going on here. We got another about 2.5 inches. So about 38.5 inches of penetration we got with that. So we can see there's a big difference between an expanded light hollow point that's going to dump its energy versus something that's going to cut through. I'm really surprised that we got that much penetration for the velocity we got. I thought for sure we might stop up here just because there is going to be a lot of bullet drag, but it does look like we went in a straight line. So a lot different than the Super Police bullet I tested. It's a round nose where it curves around a lot and tumbles. This thing just went in a straight line. So let's test these now through the short barrel, see how they compare. All right, snub nose revolver, TAC-XP, and then that's very heavy lead bullet. So here's our TAC-XP. All right, now let's set it with that 230 grain bullet. Go take a look. right, with that, you know, again, there's a little bit less actual felt recoil with that lead bullet versus this TAC-XP bullet here. So what we got with our TAC-XP is, it almost looks like more damage to the snub and more expansion, and that makes sense because if we're hitting it, you know, just a little bit slower, the petals aren't going to peel back quite as far. But that's the great thing about, you know, our copper bullet, is the way those petals peel. So again, here's our TAC-XP, here's just our lead bullets up here, TAC-XP's 2-inch barrel. So we got a really good damage energy path going on, really good cutting damage, and you know, and this is how I judge other rounds typically, because you can see the way that this damage is created. It looks almost like little microscopic lines going in it, and that is indicating something that is expanded and cutting. So when I see that, I always know that it is performing really good. So what we got with that is about 15.5 inches, which is only a 1/4 inch more than what we got in the 4-inch barrel. I know sometimes parallax makes it look different than that, because in the back of the block, for whatever reason, when we start going this way, it stretches it more. But yeah, only a 1/4 inch more penetration at 15.5 inches. That's really good. Now with that very heavy bullet, I'm not going to pull out the measuring tape. We went about a 1/4 inch past this ruler here, so we're at about 36.25 inches. So very, very straight line, a whole bunch of penetration going on. That's really impressive. So let's pull these out. We'll take a close-up look at them, and then I'm going to shoot at my steel to see what kind of, you know, knock around power those things have on the steel. So let's do that. All right, so here's a close-up look at these bullets, and there's not really a comparison to do here because these are vastly different in the way they're designed to perform. So you can't be like, well, this one did better than this, but it is cool to take a close-up look at these. And here's our 110 grain through our 4-inch barrel. Interestingly enough, we have a petal that bent inward, and that probably has a lot to do with the MDF impact. So an inward bent petal through the 4-inch barrel with that TAC-XP. Now with our lead bullet, you know, all we have is rifling marks here, and you would think this bullet would be longer, a lot longer than the TAC-XP, but it's not as much longer as what you might think it would be, and that's partially because our TAC-XP bullet is copper, and copper is a lot less dense. So if this were a lead bullet, it would be significantly shorter. So, but there's still a big difference in that bullet overall size and mass, and obviously this is twice as heavy as this, so a big difference there. So really our comparisons are going to be, you know, looking at through the 4-inch barrel versus the 2-inch barrel, and what we can see is with the 2-inch barrel, this is why we had that larger damage path going on with the 2-inch barrel. So I would say that we were actually performing a little bit better with this round despite having less energy with the 2-inch barrel, because we did not get that weird petal deformation where one bent in. All of them bent out, and they actually bent out a little bit bigger. So the overall size might be bigger on this because of these ones sticking straight out. I'm not sure, I haven't measured them yet, but this is more overall consistent across the whole expansion of those. Now when we look at our lead bullet through a 2-inch barrel, as you might expect, we're not seeing any difference at all versus the 4-inch barrel. You'd think maybe it's possible the 4-inch barrel with a little more energy might deform it more, but again, we weren't working with that much more velocity with the 4-inch barrel, and these are hard casts, so they're unlikely to deform. So, and that's part of the reason why they penetrate so far. They're not deforming, so that flat point is staying flat. It keeps orienting them in a straight line. So anytime, you know, something's a little off while it's going through, a little pressure here, a little pressure there, the flat tip just keeps it going straight. It evens out the pressure pushing backwards, making it go straight. So interesting to look at something so vastly different up close. So that's a close-up look at those. All right, I'm 12 yards from the target. What I'm going to do here is from this 12 yards, I'm going to compare out of the snub nose the TAC-XP practical shootability to those lead bullets, and then I'm going to back it up with the 4-inch barrel because that's a little bit better at distance shooting, and just kind of see how they compare from some more distance. So TAC-XP 110 grain plus P, 12 yards from the target. I'm going to get a sight picture, pop them off, see how they feel for me. those have a good amount of muzzle jump, like very fast muzzle jump. Now let's try these lead bullets. I don't know about these. These are hard cast. Let me fire one and see if it ricochets. Yeah, see, I'm hearing a little bit of something going on where you got a lot of mass coming back with those. So let me back it up a few yards and then I'll fire the rest of these. All right, so I'm roughly 20 yards from that target now. Feel a little bit safer. All right, yeah, so I was aiming where the rest of the impacts were, kind of low center on the silhouette. And, you know, I think the misses were going by the headshot, missing a headshot, not intentionally. So that is a phenomenon I see a lot with these type of heavy bullets. But with the 4-inch barrel from some distance, I think that might be a lot better accuracy. So let's do that. All right, 75 yards from the target. I still sometimes to this day get yelled at for this, yelled at, you know, all caps. And it's like, if you have a problem with me shooting 75 yards, make your own video and don't shoot from 75 yards. But this is what I like doing. So first up, we're gonna shoot some of these TAC-XPs from 75 yards with my 4 1/8 inch Smith & Wesson 686. See if I can make any hits with these. Alright, can't really tell exactly where they're hitting. Looks like maybe a little bit high left. Right, so going a little bit too fast there, I think. And yeah, it's hard for me to tell where they're hitting. So with these, I'm very curious here. I'm not sure where the point of impact is, where that shift is, whether they're going to go high or low, if they're going to jump up from recoil, or if they're so slow they're going to drop from drop. So let me fire one single axe and try to locate where this is hitting. I have a hard time there. So a little bit high, I believe, a little bit left. So like I was thinking, I'm probably going to have to aim below the target. That sounds so weird. So it does appear they're not necessarily shooting left, just a little bit high, because I'm aiming a good, you know, foot under the target. So I'll keep doing that. All right, let me go back and get some more rounds back there and come back. I think they're not shooting as high as I think, because, you know, more of those hits, I was kind of getting a little bit of the bottom of that silhouette. So I want to make some more hits on this. All right, I'm back, and just for fun, look what I brought. So I'm going to go single action, see if I can hit one. I don't think I can, but let's see what I can do. I'm going to have to aim below the target, probably a few feet. Just a little bit right. All right, so those last two shots, I went from aiming a few feet low to maybe 5 feet low. And then those two hit. So there's a lot of weird calculations in this stuff that a lot of people don't understand. They think it's just a matter of aiming high and bullets drop, and that's generally never the case. It's either aiming center or aiming low. So now with this, I'm going to aim about just the very bottom of that silhouette, like I figured where I had to aim last time. So see if I can make any hits. All right, so we know where to hold with those. Case ejection is great with these two. And those hit really hard. It's so weird because the gunshot sound is completely gone before I hear the sound of the steel. That's not typical. It's pretty cool. There we go. So we can see that those can be some very accurate rounds. That was a lot of fun. And I researched stuff like this before, and I was trying to figure out what's the point of stuff like this. And it looks like way back in the day, this may or may not be correct what I'm going to say, but it does look like there used to be like bowling pin matches and stuff like this. 230 grain was required for that, to knock over a bowling pin correctly or something like that, to that effect. And I could see how that would make sense. If it hit, you know, probably wouldn't even penetrate the thing, and it probably would knock it down. So that makes a lot of sense to some degree. But what we can say is these are very, very heavy bullets, and they penetrate very, very deep, and they are consistently accurate if you know where to hold. So, you know, the whole point of this test here is really to let the 38 Special shine and show that with a 38 Special, you have a lot of options. That really is the point of this video here. Yes, 230 grain, 110 grain, they don't equate to each other. But that's the thing, with a nice long revolver cartridge case chamber, you can do a lot with something like this that you wouldn't be able to do with a semi-auto. So I could go all the way down to like I believe it's 71 or 73 grain ARX polymer bullets, or I can go up to 230 grains, you know, over like 150 grains heavier. There's a big variety of what you can do. And then you have a 357 Magnum on top of that. You can run 357 Magnum or 38 Special or 38 short Colts or 38 long Colts. It's hard not to say that the 357 38 is not the most versatile revolver out there. Very versatile. And today is one example of that. Taking a lead-free copper hollow point, dumps all its energy fast, does really good. And by the way, that shows that the 38 Special isn't weak. The 38 Special isn't garbage, and it doesn't not expand. Did pretty well. But when we put a nice hard cast heavy bull in there, you can do some other amazing things with it. So very interesting to see here. You know, we got standard penetration with good expansion, or we can get more penetration than some 44 Magnums with a hard cast bullet. So very interesting test overall. So it's cool to kind of see how these perform. So that's what you get today. And again, thank you to Calamity Jane for sending this ammunition. It performed really well. It performed a little bit better than I expected. So that's what you get today. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.